There's something fantastic and very kind of symbolic, I think, about Auchtershire Field being based in the extraordinary, mystical, ancient setting of Glastonbury Abbey. It is a 32-acre site steeped in history and mysticism, and in a way so much of our folklore as a nation centres on this strange little hub, from Joseph of Arimathea and all of those kind of early kind of Christian legends through to Arthur and Guinevere and all of that as well. All centres on the nexus, which is the Glastonbury Abbey site. So it's like there's a kind of magic seeping up through the soil of that environment. A perfect place to create a new little utopia with music at its heart, but with love and openness as its soul. Something which is a kind of cornerstone principle of the festival is that it is genuinely there for everyone, for all elements of the community, young and old, certainly families, right at the epicentre of what Auchtershire Field is all about. Huge children's area with everything from kind of vintage helter-skelter and all that kind of thing, through to a fantastic company called Flying Seagulls, who were doing very, very kind of hands-on creative projects all weekend long, with this kind of incredible flock, almost like an army of children charging around after them and cropping up in various parts of the extraordinary site. We rebirthed a project from before called the Scrap Heap Orchestra, where the entire symphony orchestra downed tools, put down their conventional instruments, and picked up bassoons made out of shower cubicle, violins made out of toilet waste pipe, and made the most beautiful and arresting sound with these very strange and unconventional instruments. There was a fantastic orchestra which cropped up towards the end of the first day of the festival, called the Post-War Orchestra. Something I'm very excited about and very kind of fascinated by. This is an orchestra of instruments, all of which have been made from recycled artillery armament, bits of military hardware, flutes made out of rifled butts. An incredibly poetic and beautiful symbol, obviously, symbolic, taking something which is an instrument of war, of destruction, of horror, and turning it to something of beauty. Probably the single most important debut at Auchtershire Field was a brand new initiative which only started about 12-15 months ago, which is called the British Para-orchestra. This is the first ever orchestra, as far as I know, not just in the UK, but anywhere in the world, which is a pan-disabled group of musicians at the top of their game, prolifically gifted musicians who happen to have disability. Of course, with the Paralympics coming so brilliantly to London this year, it was a heaven-sent opportunity to get this initiative going. So that orchestra, I'm proud to say, did its very first public performance at Auchtershire Field. It was an extraordinary moment in time. And a month and a half later, they played at the closing ceremony of the Paralympics in front of a global audience of about 1 billion people. But also, and crucially, there was huge encounter and entertainment to be had through other fantastic kind of stellar elements of the festival, like the talk tent, for instance, which was an extraordinary cornucopia of different kinds of people from different walks of life talking about their world and how it relates to music. So Kevin MacLeod, for instance, did this absolutely insane talk about music and architecture.
Turns out 7-beat bars stem from Asian and Indian and Oriental music, not from the West, not from the Western system.
So all that stuff's going on, real food for the head.
There's been a lot of talk, I think, for hundreds of years, really, about the connection between mathematics and music.
The songs of our people, they're our indigenous music. You in this room will have had an experience, whether it's through film or literature or music, where your life has been changed and opened up to something different.
Orchestra in the Field is all about trying to put some of that very, very important engagement with really inspiring work back into the community. So you've got the opportunity for children to see absolutely world-class work and completely unique work, unique fusions of different kinds of work. But also, crucially, it's an opportunity for them to perform alongside some of these amazing world-class artists.
Singing, we will rock you.
We launched a national choir competition for community choirs up and down the land to post auditions on YouTube. We sifted through, we selected 5 finalist choirs.
Moving on up now. Have a little help from my friends. We step,
Let's set sail for seas of passion.
It was an amazing way to start the Sunday morning of the festivals. We had this big community choir sing-off, and they were dazzling and extraordinary. There's a firebrand charity called Awards for Young Musicians, which is a national charity. It's all about reaching out into sink estates and kind of disadvantaged communities around the country in order to find a spark of talent in any child who's growing up in that community that might lead to a career in music, or at least a joyous life in music. So they did a kind of showcase at Orchestra in the Field, which is an amazing moment just to see kids from all sorts of backgrounds being virtuosically good.
Hi, I'm Billy in Orchestra in the Field, and I'm going to play a short tune.
There's an incredibly important and vibrant organisation based here in Somerset called Super Act, and what they particularly specialise in doing is in working with children and young people from very disadvantaged backgrounds. Through music, Super Act prove again and again that they can transform lives and give people a completely new sense of identity, self-respect and of direction.
And the bosses, when Progy's on the track, sometimes I think that you is classless.
Sport, lesson, PE. Yeah, I make up excuses. I don't feel well.
You show me another event anywhere on the planet, actually, where in the course of 1 hour of entertainment, the orchestra can be doing a gig with hip-hop stars like Professor Green and Labyrinth, who are right at the top of their game. 2 artists, by the way, who'd never worked with a symphony orchestra before that moment.
That the Sunshine could easily be kind of translated into like a classical kind of rendition, so it was nice to do it and just finally do it. I've always wished to do it, so yeah, I loved it, man.
And then as soon as they went off stage, the orchestra were tanking into a world-class performance of Carmen, the world's greatest and most popular opera. So that kind of gear shift between different musical worlds, I just don't think it's possible anywhere else.
We had a great time. Brought some of the children and the kids are simply loving it to bit. And Charles has done a fantastic job.
I believe Orchestra in the Field is a completely unique and new strain of festival. It's got all the energy of a rock event, but with something very different right at its heart. That is an orchestra, but an orchestra that can be serviced, that can work in a number of different ways. So that an Orchestra in the Field, and this is where it is unique, you can have stars of hip-hop, you can have members of Portishead, you can have psychedelic improvisation, all alongside, embedded within a symphony orchestra. Proof positive that no one any longer should be fearful of that great organism. It's for us, it's for now. So I think we can genuinely say that this is going to grow and it's going to become a very, very important other cultural event besides the more famous Glastonbury Festival.